Join us for a tour of the all-new Mercedes S-Class. Let's go! In the front of the all-new Mercedes S-Class, we can see the front grille is a little bit wider than before, and the headlamps, they are a little bit slimmer, but overall more a design evolution. This is the base S-Class, as it usually looks like, here also with the lower graphic. Typical standing upright Mercedes star. And the headlamps, they come standard with multi-beam LED already, so already a sophisticated high beam function. And optional, you can get these digital light with these blue accentuations. They have micro mirrors and can even serve as a projector on the street. Very interesting. 5 meters 29 or 17'4" is the length of the new S-Class. Here in the long wheelbase version, 5 meters 18, it would be in the short wheelbase version. And the model codes are now either V223 or W223 for the short wheelbase version. This here, the long wheelbase version, is the more important one, sold more worldwide. In the US, this is also the standard one. The short wheelbase version rather for European customers who also drive it themselves a lot and don't rely so much on chauffeur purposes. And of course, on the US market, for example, longer vehicle is not such a problem. Both versions have been increased, like this, so slightly longer than before, but not a major change. Wheels start from 18-inch up to 21-inch. These here are the 20-inch wheels, and I think they are still a quite good compromise, not too big, but already quite massive, as for the visual part. Now to the rear, what has been kept is the design clue that the longest point is in the lower area, that it more stands a little bit like this. This is also typical S-Class. What's new? You see here the new tail lamps with a modern signature on the inside and also more stretched, definitely, and more resemblance to the E-Class or even an A-Class sedan, definitely. And important technology news: Mercedes has waited a long time, if you compare it to Audi or BMW, for rear axle steering. Now introduced here in the S-Class. And the special thing is the rear axle steering right here, if you go for that option, both for short wheelbase or long wheelbase, it goes in the opposite direction than the front wheels up to 10 degrees. That's like double as for the competition. So it's really, really massive. You will be able to see that from the outside. And this reduces the turning circle by 2 meters. So parking in and out and turning circle, of course, all at low speeds, will be massively improved with this one. It won't go all the way if you have the biggest tires, and it won't go all the way when you drive a little bit faster and at really higher speeds. And again, as we know from the other competitors, it moves in the parallel direction as the front wheels for more stability at higher speeds. As for engines, this here will be the standard engine, inline 6-cylinder turbo petrol engine, either as 450 rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, or as the 500 S500 just with all-wheel drive. This will also be the base for the new plug-in hybrid with an electric range of 100 kilometers or 60 miles. And then also the 6-cylinder diesel, 350 rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, or the 400D, then always with all-wheel drive. And then there will also be the 8-cylinder petrol engines, also with the performance model, the 63 as usual, of course. And the Maybach will get the 12-cylinder. By the way, yeah, you say Maybach. That's the German pronunciation, not Maybach. It's Maybach. When you can pronounce it. news as for the cushions. They are also now available here for the front seats, and because they have direct head contact, they are also here in this plush microfiber surface. This feels very cool. Yeah, if you go for the full fabric interior, by the way, you will have also one of the most exclusive S-Classes, because not all customers pick that. So yeah, that would be one thing to make your S-Class even more exclusive. So, test seat here now, and these seats are really like very plush and feel like a little bit like blown up. So yeah, it makes really like a sofa-like atmosphere. So far very comfortable. Of course, soon more about that when we do extensive driving parts and so on. Sometimes I feel, we also talked about in the Bentleys, when seats are too plush, you don't feel like sitting in the seat anymore, but rather like on really like on the seat, or being like, you know, almost push off the seat, figuratively speaking. Yeah, so we have to see about that long term, but a very interesting seating position, definitely. Very different also from an E-Class, for example. But these pillows, these soft pillows, they are really awesome. So this is really very cool. So that, you know, gives you really a kind of living room atmosphere and even more comfort. So you can also understand that they strive towards autonomous driving with this vehicle. All level 2 systems here, by the way, for autonomous driving. Well, that's not already autonomous driving. It's level 2 is like all assisted driving is standard here now in this vehicle. And you can already order the hardware for level 3 so that you can really let the car do its thing and you're not responsible anymore in, you know, certain limited areas. Not allowed yet by regulations, but the car could already do that hardware-wise when you order this special package, by the way. So the seat control, as I shown you earlier, is done from the inside. And again, I don't like it that I don't really get like a haptical feedback. It's more like I just touch this area and then something happens. For example, here, the lower part of the seat is being lengthened or shortened. You can see it right here in this lower area. But, you know, as these control parts moved before in the previous generation, that I think it was easier to control, especially when you're not looking at it while driving, but just feeling it. Steering wheel control, also electric, up and down and in and out. And everything really looks and feels high class. But here the stalk columns here and this part of the steering wheel, this doesn't resonate quite as much to the rest. But here, the outside parts, they do. Here with the metal knurling around, that's definitely really cool and very beautiful. So with 1m86 or 6'1", my size, put the seat in the lowest position. Here there's still some headroom left. This car is also equipped with a panoramic roof. And there is this slider now here in the middle part when I turn on the ignition. And this can actually open the roof. You can also do it with the voice control, for example. And here you can see it brings even more light than in the interior. Welcome to the new S-Class interior. By the way, if you see flickering IR lights, this is perfectly normal, because when you turn on the 3D instruments, then they track your eyes, that you can have a three-dimensional look. It's not appearing really on camera, and also these lights do not flicker for the human eye, just on camera. Well, what can we see here? First of all, from the design, there's a top vent here, like 4, but smaller now than before. Then horizontal design stress here with the ambient lighting. We can also adjust different colors here. Of course, Thomas Blue in full brightness. Then a lot of, you know, like a full dash here. Here again with a lot of black piano lacquer. Not my favorite here, but here you can also get different decor elements. Then this new 12.8-inch screen, but in this vertical form. It's always like this, and hardly any real buttons left. Left side always these 12.3-inch instruments. They come like this as standard, and optional then with this 3D function. Soon more about that. Once more, you can also see the steering wheel here, and like this in the base shape. Also buttonless. This is like one big capacitive button. It does give you some kind of a feedback, acoustic and also haptic feedback. Yeah, sliders here, for example, also for the volume control. It is better done than, for example, with the Volkswagen solution. A little bit easier to control. Here you also have right thumb control for the center screen and left thumb control here for the digital instruments, for example. Now more details to this infotainment unit. First of all, the climate unit here is in the lower part and just also on the screen for the vent strength and also for the temperature. The alternative would be the voice control. Hey Mercedes. Hey Mercedes.
How may I help you?
Increase temperature.
I'm increasing the temperature to 23 degrees.
So that would be one solution, for example, for that. Still, I would prefer manual sliders. Unless you don't care when you have a 22 degrees Celsius automatic set all the time anyway. Yeah, let's see about that. The hotkeys here do react a little bit with the screen. For example, then here for, some assistance systems. So you can, have some, shortcuts here. Other than that, you do everything with the screen indeed. Here, for example, here for the car settings, for the language. The lights, this is always, of course, a very nice one because you can set like monochrome or multicolor. Here in blue, for example, or then to green or whatever. So a lot of different colors are available. And I would always put the brightness here all the way up like this. That's of course really cool. Now to the digital instruments, we have different stylings available. So for example here a bright new one or more sporty one. So you can adjust so many things in here. This is all possible. You also have an own menu then here which you can control, or like this view is again possible, understated. This is a sport gauge, it's the exclusive gauge. There's a classic gauge like this. Or then there's the navigation view that you have the map all over the screen. So yeah, definitely a lot of things to discover right here. But to control it here with the sliders, you can, for example, zoom in and out. But again, to control it here with the sliders, usually would do it with a thumb. At the moment, I'm doing it with the index finger. This is so much more complicated than before. And, it is not about liking or not liking. It's just about the functionality is worth the control input, the user input is worth than before. We just have to say that. The optional head-up display now appears a little bit longer in your line of sight, so more far away from you, so more on the road, and either has a basic function or then optional. You can also go with an augmented reality head-up display. It's a different hardware indeed, more extended. It's also one you can see at the moment, and just, while driving, you would see all the functionality, for example, with moving arrows directly projected on the road where you have to turn. Fingerprints are part of the reality. Also when you activate the 3D view for the digital instruments. And once again, the IR lights, these can just be seen on camera. You do not see them with the human eye. However, you do see the 3D effect with the human eye, but that you cannot see on camera. So what we are seeing at the moment here is really like a third dimension. So this is like the display would have another layer inside. So the map looks like three-dimensional, and also these lights or these cameras, they are there that you can actually move your head left and right, and then it still appears three-dimensional. But once again, we cannot display that on camera, sorry. I think I would get it just with the standard door handles, wouldn't you? I mean, like these sliding out ones. I don't know. Yeah, about that. So, rear door closing sound? Yeah, that's again, I think that's really cool. It really has this door closing sound heritage. So, then here the long door, of course, for the longer base version, which is again standard in the US. Here you also have a sunshade. This goes up like this. So once again, down, hidden very nicely, and up. And the same seat control as in the front seats. Then you can see here the standard configuration would be a bench that goes all the way through with 5 seats. Then there are electric seats on the outside available. And then you can see here this different option. Then in the middle part you have this going through console. Then with the single seat setup. And for the longer base version, it's also this executive version available, where then the passenger seat in the front can be moved all the way forward for more executive seating in the rear part at the right. Here also, by the way, the rear cushions, they have been before, but they now can be heated. So there's this optional heating package available where then these can be heated. They can still be taken off, and then there's also a magnet connection for the cable then for the heating, so you can still take it off. Very interesting. But the most important thing is that they're very plush and comfortable. So getting inside, and when I have the seat as I would be driving here in the long wheelbase version, still plenty of legroom left. And of course, one of the rare cars where the rear seats feel pretty much equal to the front seats. And once again, this very comfortable cushion, probably still one of my favorite things here in the S-Class. Reviewing this vehicle and controlling the seats is always a little bit tricky because, once again, you have to reach over here to the door. Otherwise, it wouldn't be such a problem. When the door is closed, you can even slide this one forward even more, or you also have this, this program to put it back up here once again. But you can really find a lot of position. You can even, put the head restraint a little bit higher and so on, and then you can find your executive position. However, I have to say nowadays when you have these luxury SUVs, you have a more upright position in the rear. So when you ask me, best comfort for rear seats, not anymore the executive sedans, but rather indeed the big SUVs as for the rear room and so on. New here for the rear entertainment, this is also an option, and then you can actually do everything you can also do in the front, but you can also send stuff to the front screen then, so you can individualize that. However, there's also a function available that from the front you can block this here at the rear so that your kids, for example, can interfere with that. Big safety news here, by the way, is that for the very first time in this spec and from extensive package, there has been one exception from Nissan before, but now here there is a rear seat airbag available. It will blow up like this here. It's an option. It is for both rear seats then, and it can also be combined with child seats, so works for smaller and taller adults. And it will have a combination of a more stiffer bag on the side and then a softer bag on the inside. So we have a massive airbag here also for an impact for the rear passengers. That's again a very, very good safety innovation. Again, not the very, very first time that has been done, but the first time in this extensive package they are offering there as for the safety. And this is now the final executive position. So it took like a minute and a half or something. You see me with 1.86 m or 6'1". It does not fit directly. So I have to bend my legs a little bit. So it's not optimized for my size or for my height. More like 1.80 m, 6 foot. Then I think it would exactly fit. Everyone who's taller than that, this executive function is, not with stretched legs. You have to then somehow be like this or something. And now to our conclusion for today with the all-new Mercedes S-Class. From the exterior, rather an evolutionary change, but I think that works quite well, and I think it's very remarkable that they really kept this, this core design of the S-Class and didn't do anything which is too crazy. I think that wouldn't have fitted also to the expectations of the so far customers of the Mercedes S-Class. Very interesting that this car is also already available with the level 3 autonomous driving hardware at least. Of course, it has been in discussions with the regulators and so on, so it needs to be allowed first that you can really use it. But at least you can already order the car with that when it is allowed at a later stage then. Really looking forward also with these new sound dampening measures. It is a very silent car already in the so far generation, supposed to be now even more silent while driving. And also that the level 2 autonomous driving system, so where you're still responsible for everything, but the car basically can almost do everything on its own already, that this one is already now standardly included, at least in most markets. Interior-wise, a completely new design. This is definitely a revolutionary change, both from the design and from the user interface. I think the design itself is still quite essential. That's nice. However, the user interface, you have more functionality and a lot of cool innovation there as well. Yes, but the user interface is definitely worse than before. To control the capacitive buttons on the steering wheel is more complicated. To have everything just in the touchscreen is more complicated. Yes, Tesla also does that, but their user interface software is better and easier to use then. You know, that's the thing. So, and here definitely a lot more complicated than before, and I'm not sure if that's really a step forward in this case. However, you have also nice functions like with the 4D surround system, a lot more things to play around with, definitely. You can also get this car animal-free on the interior, however, just on demand. I think they have to push it more. And next to a fabric alternative, they should also offer a leatherette alternative like BMW does now in the BMW 5 Series. Because maybe you want to have the very same look and feeling like with an animal skin leather, but still want to have it animal-free and better for the environment. So you should have the option that you're actually able to do that, because Mercedes says, hey, we are sustainable luxury, but they are not yet in the S-Class. As for the engines, at least some mild hybrid systems for the petrol engines. That will maybe be a little bit better for the combustion engine consumption. So the 6-cylinders will also be a good choice. And of course, when there will be the performance models, we'll also keep you updated as for that. So, very interesting impressions here for today. The crash safety has also been further improved, but then it's always the thing, when you improve it for one vehicle, what about, the other one that is involved in the accident? Always maybe something to consider as well. So, thank you so much for joining us here today. Leave us your feedback to the all-new Mercedes S-Class in the different aspects. A lot to discuss, definitely a very interesting and unique car. And we can expect that some of these technologies definitely will be found also in future Mercedes models, or maybe even in the cars in general. You might remember that the S-Class once was the very first car that introduced the anti-lock braking system, the ABS. So, thank you so much for tuning in today. See you next time.